Hey photo world, welcome back to another episode here on takeandtalkpics.com. This is another episode from the former podcast. Please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and join the email list. Let's get to that 1,000 subscriber marker so that way I can add a new video every single week. Enjoy. Take and Talk Pics, episode 16. Before we get started today, I'd like to do a quick shout out to the 5-star ratings and reviews we're getting on iTunes. The feedback is amazing and I'm just extremely grateful for it. So thank you to everyone who's already done so. If you haven't, I encourage you to do so and I'll give you a shout out in an upcoming episode. Jared Lichton, Blessed4, Nate DeGreat, Diana Mitchell, Shalone Sperano, Sweeney McMahon, Sue Monhate, Jody from Women Taking the Lead, Nick at 5 Minutes with Dad, VP Carter, MinX NYC, Antone Wood, Chris at Lean Leadership Podcast, Chris Reck, Thomas O'Grady, PhD, Frosted Fingers, Go Pack Go 1234, Greek Fire 15, Smitta at Women Entrepreneur Success, Probst NA, and Miles Boone. Thank you for the 5-star ratings and reviews. Looking forward to hearing from you, Photo World.
It's so funny because every 6 months my preferences for like how I shoot and like what I shoot change, even though my style stays pretty similar. So
today's featured guest is Emilia Jane Schobeiri. Emilia is a wedding photographer who has captured couples in Chicago, New York, San Francisco, Texas, and even Paris. Bouncing between mostly Chicago and New York, Emilia's weddings have an honest quality, and they flow with the emotion being captured. Emilia, welcome to Take and Talk Pics.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I've given Photo World just a little introduction about you. Can you share a little bit more about yourself and your photography business?
Gosh, yes. Well, where to begin? It's so funny because people's first question is almost always, do you work with bridezillas, or do you deal with a lot of bridezillas, or how did you get into the industry? And so I think both kind of interweave themselves together that, no, I don't work with a lot of crazy people because I'm so lucky to have kind of built this business from scratch. I started out of school. I studied philosophy, started in a corporate sales job and was miserable. And I knew it wasn't what I wanted to be doing, but I started my business on the side just to like pursue hobbies again and to have something that I enjoyed on the weekends. Photography is something I grew up doing. My family traveled a lot, so I always took travel photos of our family and of where we were going. And actually, this is so silly, but I actually used to play senior pictures with my friends when we were little. I would dress, like in grade school, I would dress up my friends in different outfits and pose them throughout the house and yard and like shoot rolls of film of them as portraits, as play portraits.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that I've always had in my bones, but I didn't realize, I didn't go to school for it or didn't think about it really until a lot later as a career option. So I guess that's a little bit wider than what you asked, but that's kind of a little bit about my background.
No, it's perfect. It helps to know where you're coming from, and it lets me understand a little bit more about your work. As I could tell just in my little research, you've been in business for how many years now? 5?
5 years,
5 years? No offense to other photographers who have been in business for 5 years, but you look like you've surpassed that a little bit further than the typical 5-year mark for most of the photographers out there, especially in the wedding industry.
Thank you.
That building of playing senior portraits with your friends, it kind of shows that there was a big development, just natural development that you had going on getting to this point, accelerating so quickly. So it's really cool that that was a piece of it.
Yeah.
Take and Talk Pics is all about sharing stories. So, I really like that, starting us out, just giving a story, getting the inspiration flowing and having Photo World just get a little bit pumped about their own photography business. And I like to kick it off with an inspirational quote or some sort of mantra that you live by on a daily basis.
There isn't really anything that I have written on my mirror or meditate on a regular basis, but I appreciate that you asked me this in advance, actually, because this is kind of the only thing that I thought a little bit about before we got on the phone today. And there's kind of 3 different quotes that I think best embody kind of my, feelings about life right now. And life and business. And so the first is from Hafez, and that is, stay close to anything that makes you glad you're alive. And so then the second is, in between goals is a thing called life that has to be lived and enjoyed. Hang on. Oh gosh, I lost the third. They all 3 interwove. Oh, here we go. In order to live a fascinating life, one brimming with art, music, intrigue, and romance, you must surround yourself with precisely those things. So all three of those kind of embody, I think, what I am striving for now. I actually, this is like, I don't know if this is too deep for what we're talking about today, but I had a big struggle with depression a couple years ago, which I blogged a little bit about at the end of last year. I didn't blog about it kind of while I was going through it, but there's so much to like quotes and inspiration that's like, you can do it every day, be happy, choose joy and whatever. And like, there's truth in that, but sometimes it's really out of your physical capability or biological, like chemical ability to be happy and choose that. And so I think something that like really helped me get through that, but also just kind of like enjoy life now is like kind of what I said a couple of minutes ago with like staying close to things that make you glad you're alive. So for me, that's yoga and meditation. And this is so silly because I'm like tall and skinny, but I really like lifting weights. So I've like gotten into Olympic lifting. So anyway, it's interesting. Like the other creative things, like I enjoy arranging flowers and I'm pursuing that as more of a hobby now. Since photography is now my like full-time business and I still obviously love it, but it can't be my like fun hobby on the side anymore. I need something else creatively too. So anyway, I hope that kind of answers your question.
It does. And I mean, I'm sure you hear this from your friends and stuff, like, oh, so what do you like to take pictures of for your hobby? And it's like, no. Like, yeah, I do take pictures like everybody else outside of my own photography, but I have other hobbies. Like photography is not a hobby. Let's stop looking at that way.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I have a really hard time enjoying photography as a hobby now.
Right, I understand, and I'm sure photo world's out there going, yes, other people who get it. So yeah. That's good. So only 5 years in the making here, and it's just been, like I said, it looks like a really accelerated process to getting to where you're at. Just awesome stuff you have going on. Could you share with Photo World kind of what kicked it off and started that pursuit to go after photography as a career?
It's an interesting question. Like I said, I've always enjoyed photography as a hobby, like from a young age. When I was in high school, this is actually my favorite job ever, other than owning my own business. I was a hostess at this Italian restaurant in my hometown in Evansville, Indiana. And one of the servers' sisters got married and she hired Megan W. Photography out of Indianapolis at the time. Megan's now in Denver, Colorado. She hired Megan to do her wedding photos. And I saw the blog post after the wedding on Megan's blog, and I had never seen anything so beautiful. So I started following Megan's blog in high school and in college just to like, for the pure appreciation of the beauty of it. And then Megan got featured on a wedding blog. And then I started following that wedding blog and wedding blog. Then through that, I found other wedding photographers. And by the time I like got to this corporate job that I mentioned earlier, I was following several hundred blogs. I mean, I've always been a blog follower. So like blogs about design and fashion and different things too. But anyway, I was following a ton of wedding blogs and a ton of wedding photographers' blogs. And so when I picked up a DSLR again, just to like appreciate it as a hobby with my corporate job, I realized very quickly that I guess I saw my own potential. And I hope that doesn't sound conceited, but like I saw that like what I was doing could eventually be as good as what I was seeing on Style Me Pretty and wherever else. And so I set that as my goal. So I wanted to be able to make work that beautiful. And I knew that with photography, there aren't a ton of ways that you can make a living doing that. So if I was going to be serious about this, then I needed to be serious about the business of it. And weddings are something that I've loved my whole life. My dad was a campus minister, so I attended a ton of weddings when I was young because he was officiating them. So anyway, I've always kind of loved photography and always loved weddings. And then I kind of like put the pieces together like 5 years ago.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's awesome. And it's just those little bits of inspiration that kind of start entering your life from different directions you didn't expect. And then you kind of look back and you're like, it all makes sense, So
Totally.
That's cool. Emilia, we've had our problems as photographers and, Photo World listening is going, oh man, I've messed up so many times, and we learn from that, or at least hopefully we learn from that. If we're not learning from that, then good luck out there. But, we learn from our mistakes and learning the hard way and having things come up. And like you said, for me personally, my brides and grooms, they're not crazy clients. They're not bridezillas. I feel like those are so few and far between. People genuinely want to have a great experience on their wedding. And if you're the right fit, it feels really good the whole way through. So, it doesn't come up, but things do happen. And can you share with Photo World a time where you had to learn the hard way and hopefully you're better for it, but, a failure moment you can look back on now?
I mean, I think not as much as like a big failure moment, but I think when I was like getting started, there are so many resources for photographers and there are so many photographers selling things to other photographers. And I very much got swept up in the like chasing of the big photographers and, bought the guides and went to the workshops and creative lives and everything. And there's so much power in all of that. But I think instead of running everything through the filter of like what makes the most sense for like what I want for my business for the future and who are my couples really and who am I trying to attract, I just was very eager to jump on a lot of different bandwagons from the beginning and bought a lot of products and thought I needed to be doing a lot more work outside of photography as far as like all of these different gifts and all these different things for like make my clients that super happy and whatever, which like is all great, but like needs to be so filtered and so applicable for your brand specifically or for my brand specifically. So I think I've tried to get a lot better at thinking through things from the perspective of like moving towards what I want the like future of my business to be and who I want my future clients to be and how I'm working towards that as opposed to just kind of like what are other photographers doing that I should be doing and that kind of thing.
It's really difficult as photographers to get started because we have this tendency to start comparing our beginnings to someone else's middle and we get stuck in this mode of like, how do I catch up to them? And it's not about that. It's about building who you are. So there's nothing wrong with all the workshops and stuff like that. Like you said, it serves a purpose. Education, networking, it's available and it's great. Find what works for you. Go out, do the work, keep shooting, and you'll get there. So
it's also easy though to get stuck in that constant, like always having to go to the next thing, always the next workshop and the next whatever, instead of like really putting that energy into your business.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard enough to keep the business going. So
right.
What would you consider the most important practice to your photography? Is there something from your workflow that really stands out to be there for every job?
That's so interesting. So I have two answers for this. One is like specific to the like workflow. And then one is specific to like health as a photographer. Photo mechanic changed my life for culling. So I just want to like, that's my like huge time saver everyone must use as far as I'm concerned, especially for weddings. I used to like import all of my images to Lightroom and then delete the ones that I like didn't want to deliver. And instead importing through Photo Mechanic and picking the yeses like changed the game for me, cut off so much time. So that's my like, I guess, big time saver or whatever for workflow. And then this is like, I'm going to like talk about weightlifting one more time, but like hot yoga and weightlifting have changed the game for me physically, like recuperating from weddings. After every wedding, I mean, I did 40 weddings last year. So I'm in a higher volume, but not like insane volume market in business intentionally. So I can't tell you how many mornings after I've woken up and felt like hungover, like a truck ran over my body, like just absolutely crushed from weddings. Since I have started lifting and like not for bulk, not for anything, but just like for back strength and for like leg strength. I've shot, this is the first 2 weeks of my season, but I've shot the last 2 Saturdays, 10-hour days, and wake up Sunday like with so much energy, feeling so great, like just really like ready for the week. So highly, highly, highly recommend.
Yeah, that physical activity really translates into just keeping up the endurance on a wedding day where it's already a big mental drain or any photo shoot, you're putting a lot of yourself into it.
Yeah, physical strength is like such a huge factor in that I think a lot of people forget about.
I've been feeling like this big downward spiral lately physically over the past few months. And finally, I took the initiative. And a couple weeks ago, I signed up for this 2-month intense fitness boot camp. So I'm going 3 days a week trying to crush it and just burn through it. And I'm feeling a lot better just in these first 2 weeks. So
I bet. Yeah,
can't wait to see what 2 months does and then what else I can do after that, So
yeah, for sure. Awesome.
Well, we have a wide range of photographers listening. And Emilia, could you please share with the photo world one thing that you believe could lead to growth and success in any photography business, regardless of the current level?
That's such a good question. I think this is something that I'm really bad about doing while I'm shooting, and I always like kind of beat myself up for it afterwards. But taking the time, I'm super efficient on wedding days and just like when I'm shooting in general. And I think it's important to be efficient, but I rush sometimes. And I think it's important when we can remember to like take a second and breathe, line everything up for the shot you want, take one, and then like really take a second to deeply breathe and think like, what can I do to make this better? Like better for my client, better for me, better for like whatever it is that you're looking for. But just like really kind of the idea of like, okay, this is what I thought that I wanted. How can we improve just a little bit more? like as we're going.
Your images do not look rushed. Nothing looks, without great purpose behind it, and really knowing your gear, knowing your posing, knowing your positioning, just whatever's going on, it looks very well thought out along the way. So
Thank you.
it doesn't have any rushed feeling like you just grabbed anything because you had to and move on to the next thing. There was a decision there for sure, and it's really well done.
Well, thanks. But it does very much feel on the wedding day. I mean, a lot of my bridesmaids will tell you that I'm like barking. let's move through.
Well, it pays off. So, Emilia, do you have an aha moment that you can recall during your career so far? Something that just hit you and that light bulb went off?
That's such a good question. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't have like anything crazy that like I discovered or like felt. I guess the biggest thing probably for me would be like I took Justin Morance's lighting intensive a couple years ago, and that really changed the game for me, thinking about angles while I'm shooting. So it wasn't something that I like came up with at all, but that just like has been huge in my work.
I think
that sounds like a really rough answer. Did that make sense at all?
It counts, Yeah, it made sense. But I think a good thing for me and maybe Photo World to pull away from this is that nothing stands out to be this top highlighting aha moment for your photography career at this point, which means it's coming. And then when that happens, it's going to feel like, what's the next one? And that kind of turns into this next question, which is a time where you kind of had an I made it moment as a photographer, where you feel like you could break it down to a story where you just, I don't know, you got that publication or you got that award, whatever it is that kind of just shined through to say, I'm doing this right, I'm making it.
Yeah. Okay. So there are a few things. I'm a goal person. I've always, from the beginning of my business, written things down and worked towards things. And, you get to the next place and you open a bottle of champagne and you celebrate and then you start climbing the next mountain. But I think, a couple years ago, so I was really, honestly, really new in the business. I had an image selected for Junebug's Best of the Best 50 images of the year from 2012, which was my second year shooting wedding. That was huge for me. That was very much like I remember reading the email that one of my images had been selected while I was at home over Christmas, and I started crying because it just was, I don't know, validation that like I'm doing it. Like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and
you're on the right path getting there.
Yeah.
That's a good feeling to have, and it's going to be one of many that are probably coming, I'm sure. So, very cool. Emilia, during your photography career so far, can you recall what the best advice is that you have ever received?
Best advice? I mean, I think that I don't know. I don't have anything that stands out. I mean, it's just like do the work. It's really about just putting the work in. So I don't have anything earth shattering.
No, that is enough. And it is a little earth shattering for some people because I've said it on previous publications here and different podcasts saying do the work. And I'm not the first to say it. There's a book called Do the Work, and it's an awesome book. I have that title written on my wall right here so I can see that every day. It's an extreme motivator because it's easy to think about what's a great thing to do. It's easy to know that this is a good marketing approach. It's easy to learn about all these things and see them happen, but sitting down and doing it is the only one that makes sense. So
there's no secret. There's no silver bullet. You just have to do the work.
Yeah, just get there and do it. Whether that means go out and shoot more to get better or get online and start figuring out your approach for presenting your work, whatever it means,
Yeah. And ask for help too. I think that's probably big. There are so many people in your industry and in your area that like everyone likes friends, right? Like take people out for drinks or coffee and pick their brains, and I don't know, ask people. I'm willing to help. There are people close to you that are willing to help when you have questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And Photo World, you're listening to me and Emilia Jane here for 30 minutes. Hopefully it's some help, and if you have questions, you know where to find us, or you will. Go to Taking Talk Pics, search Emilia in the search bar, and her show notes page will pop up. We'll have resources and links back to her so you can get connected and start asking those questions.
Yeah.
Emilia, this next one is a little bit of a doozy. It's kind of a long-winded question. It's a big what if.
Okay.
If you had to start your photography all over, you have the same gear, the same knowledge, your bills are covered, you can live within your means at this moment. Tomorrow you wake up and all you have is $1,000 to start this new photography business. What would you do first?
Wait, I already have all of my gear?
You got your gear, your knowledge. There's just no business there. And you have a little seed money of $1,000.
I only have $1,000. That's not very much.
You can do a lot with $1,000.
I mean, I would beg and bribe and pay my designer with future earnings to cut. Well, at the beginning, though, the logo isn't the most important. I guess I'm just thinking now, like my branding is such a big part of my brand now. Mm-hmm. have those at the beginning. I have nothing. I would just start shooting. I would like ask my pretty friends to take their photos. If I was starting over, that's what I did then. That's why I do the same thing again.
Yeah. Get everybody dressed up, have those senior fantasy photo sessions.
Oh God. No. It would be couples portraits in Central Park and downtown Chicago. And yeah, that'd be it.
You do the work, basically. Just get out there and do it.
Exactly.
Do you have an app or an internet resource that you think Photo World could benefit from knowing about?
Well, I said Photo Mechanic earlier. Mm-hmm. I think that's important. If you're not using that to call, stop whatever you're doing and buy it. This is like totally a personal preference thing, but I've switched to using a spider holster in the last year. Because I shoot with two bodies. I guess even if you shoot with one body, it works too. But it's been really beneficial to take the weight off of my shoulders and put it on my hips while I'm shooting on wedding days.
And it gets your hands free so you can direct a little bit.
Yeah, totally.
What is the one piece of gear that you could just not live without?
Oh my God. Well, it would have to be a body, right? It has to be a camera body.
It could be. But, assuming you have all your stuff, like what's the one in your bag that you're like, yeah, this has to be in my bag no matter what. And it could be the camera body. Assuming other stuff is going to be there.
No. Yeah, if you have to have one thing, it's the body, but like you need a lens too. I think it's so funny because every 6 months my preferences for like how I shoot and like what I shoot change, even though my style stays pretty similar. So I rocked the like 35-85 combo really hard for a while, and then I did the 50 and the 100, and now I'm like 24-70 and 70-200, which I swore I would never shoot with a 70-200. And then before I went to South Africa in October, I bought it because I wanted it for like safari stuff, and now I like can't not use it. So I don't have one thing. I just have a constant evolution of changing preferences.
Well, and that's how it goes, especially when it's based on what you have and you kind of find your new toy to play with for a while, and you really highlight that a lot. I find that's what happens to me when I get new gear or stuff like that.
Yeah.
My 70-200 is my go-to lens, especially for weddings, just because I love primes and I love what they can do, but the zoom range is nice, and 200-2.8 is a really beautiful thing. So I'm right there with you on that one. Before we go, we just got a couple little things left here. But if you could share with Photo World one parting piece of guidance, the best way that we can reach you, whether it's your website or some sort of social media, and then we'll say goodbye.
I think the parting advice has to be to do the work. Like, ask for help if you need it, but really get out there and chase your dreams. So if you're not sure what the next thing is, like buckle down and just work on what you're currently working on and do the best you can with it. And then, yeah, the best way to reach me, you can email me if you have like a detailed question, but the best way to kind of follow along, and my email's on my website, but it's hi@emiliajanephoto.com. And the best way to kind of follow along with what I'm up to every day, all the time, is on Instagram. And my Instagram is @EmiliaJane with an underscore at the end, because someone else has @EmiliaJane, unfortunately. So that's my day to day, and I show a lot of like my life and my house and some of my work, but it's kind of more holistic than just the like wedding photography.
Emilia, I cannot thank you enough for your time today in sharing such great value. Photo World thanks you, and happy shooting.
Thanks. See you later.
Hey Photo World, are you loving Take and Talk Pics? Maybe you are starting out or wanting to refine your skills in a new area of your photography. Like I say on the show, we are always learning, and that learning doesn't have to stop. At the College of DuPage, their photography program is amazing. I should know. I'm a former student, and now I'm an instructor at the school. Visit cod.edu/photo for more information on their program. Not local to the Chicago area? That's okay. The College of DuPage photography program is now offering online courses. Just check the course catalog for what fits your schedule. Again, that's cod.edu/photo for more information. Thank you, Photo World, for tuning in to another great episode here on Take and Talk Pics. I hope you got the amazing value that I did out of this episode in interviewing our featured photographer for today. If you'd like to learn more about this photographer and the other photographers that we have interviewed in the past, head to takeandtalkpics.com.